hurricane, according to the 11 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center, the second hurricane of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. Right now, a 75-mile-per-hour Category 1 storm. It is still moving north at 12 miles per hour and about 65 miles to the west-southwest of Cedar Key in Florida, slowly getting more organized and still expected to be a solid Category 1 hurricane as it makes landfall. That's going to be early tomorrow morning in the Big Bend region of Florida, where 6 to 10 feet of storm surge is expected, along with exceptionally heavy rain as the storm slowly comes up and across North Florida and Southeast Georgia. Now, beyond that, you've got this very strange looking cone here. And, you know, if I'll explain it this way, so each one of these forecast points is, there's a circle with that is the average forecast error. And the average forecast error is growing over time. And so it's doing something like this. And then by the time you get much, much farther out in time, then that average forecast error is getting larger and it's getting larger. And that's why you have this very bulbous appearance at the end here that doesn't look like a typical cone. It's because the storm is basically going to slow down and almost stall over parts of the southeast, which is very bad news because that's going to mean multiple days of onshore flow, of strong wind, and also very heavy rain. So as always, one of the biggest concerns with this storm for us is the heavy rain. There is an outlook for flooding from the Weather Prediction Center that includes this high risk. This is not something that we see very often. It happens a few times or several times a year generally. And that high risk also extending farther north into southeast Georgia and into parts of South Carolina Tuesday morning and into Wednesday morning. So it's possible that this storm could do something like some of the really big events in recent years. You think about storms like Florence, you think about storms like Matthew. We're not saying that it's necessarily going to be just like that, but it is possible that we could see truly catastrophic flooding from the storm because it's just not
into eventually the Big Bend or Nature Coast of Florida, where it is expected to make a landfall as a Category 1 storm. In the meantime, we are experiencing the outer bands, some of the heavy rains and the gusty winds, under storm surge warnings, under tropical storm warnings, hurricane warnings to the north in the Big Bend area, and also the possibility for tornadoes. It's a gumbo of just violent, nasty weather as Debbie has taken its time to develop, but now it's beginning to make that move into a rapid intensification process. Here's the bad news, unfortunately, is that when it does make landfall, it is nowhere near the end. It's going to drop inches and over feet of rain in some isolated areas here in Florida, but then it's going to make a trek into Georgia, potentially back out into the Atlantic where it could stall. And even if it doesn't go back into the Atlantic, it may stall over the Carolinas and Georgia, putting cities like Savannah, Charleston, Wilmington into very dire situations. 2 feet plus water could fall from the sky, causing catastrophic flash flooding scenarios. We know what happened during Hurricane Harvey years ago in Houston and the disaster and the aftermath during that. And so we're hoping that's not the case, but all signs point to a very dire situation. If you're in this path, you have to make sure that you have everything shored up with vehicles and make sure that you're not out on these roadways. If you get caught in that kind of flash flooding with that amount of rain coming down, it could be deadly. Reporting in Clearwater Beach, Florida, Robert Ray, Fox News.
Recall the last hurricane that hit the U.S. a couple, 3 weeks.